Over the weekend, the Islamic Republic of Iran essentially entered a war directly with the state of Israel. There's no other way to put that. When you fire 170 drones, 30 cruise missiles, and 120 ballistic missiles at another sovereign nation, you are now in a state of war. Now, this has been a long time.
Not when you blow up the sovereign nation's embassy, though. Only when they retaliate, you're officially in a war with them. Okay, got it. Thanks, Ben.
Time coming. The fact is that the Islamic Republic of Iran has been using all of its proxy terror groups to attack Israel repeatedly for literally decades at this point, from Hezbollah in the north of Israel to Hamas in the south of Israel to now the Houthis in Yemen. They've been using all of their proxy groups because they do not want Israel to take direct action against the Iranian regime itself. They also understand over in Iran that the rest of the world is not interested in an Israel-Iran direct war. And herein lies the conundrum.
The rest of the world is not interested in a Iran-Israel war, but I am. So let me tell you why the rest of the world is actually wrong and how nuclear Armageddon is sick. Yeah, no, actually, here, I will spend the next 13 minutes describing to you why we have to glass Iran. We have to do it, okay?
For the state of Israel, because after you are attacked with 170 drones, 30 cruise missiles, and 120 ballistic missiles, typically you are going to respond in kind to the country that just attacked you this way. We'll get to Israel's response in just a second. First, the actual news was that on Saturday night in Israel...
I thought he was going to be like, first, the actual news is that a lot of your information online is stolen by third parties. That's why you have to use Aura.
Suddenly, people started waking up 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning to the sounds of cruise missiles and ballistic missiles being shot down. The video is absolutely astonishing. It was Israeli weaponry, by the way, that was actually taking down missiles that had been fired near the Dome of the Rock. If it were not for Israel's defensive capacity, many holy sites in Islam would have been destroyed because, again, the only defender...
Yeah. No, that's right. Israel famously loves the holy sites of Islam. So when they're like beating the shit out of, religious worshipers inside of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, for example, they're actually doing that to defend Islam, famously. Or when they kill 30,000 Palestinians... and blew up pretty much every mosque in the Gaza Strip. They did that in a defensive way.
Of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam in the Middle East would actually be the state of Israel. Here is some of the dramatic footage as literally hundreds of drones...
This is such obvious, glaringly obvious propaganda that Israel tried to do. Absolutely zero people in the Muslim world look to that and go, yeah, these guys definitely care about defending Islam. Yeah. Iran definitely was trying to blow up the fucking dome. They were trying to blow up Al-Aqsa Mosque, and Israel defended it. It's such a funny talking point because, like, it's almost entirely designed for non-Muslims. Okay? There is not a single Muslim on this planet, with the exception of, like, maybe fucking MBS and, like, super hardcore, like those sheiks that you see sometimes that dick ride Israel into oblivion. Not a single Muslim person on the planet thinks that Israel legitimately wants to defend Islamic sites of worship. Okay? They know the truth. So obviously, they're not cutting this propaganda to fucking bring Muslims on board. No. They're cutting this propaganda to get the Christians to be like, oh, look at how hypocritical these goddamn Iranians are. Iranians. I hate the shit. The ballistic missile guidance systems literally need to be targeted and inputted before a strike. So Iran would have to deliberately target the third holiest site in Islam. Exactly. It's bullshit.
Were shot over the state of Israel on Saturday night. It's about 1:45 a.m. Saturday night in Jerusalem.
It's a little different. It's hard for me to assess. There's the sirens now. Guys, are we on air?
You can see the incoming
and those are the
cruise missiles
Nick Robertson, you are on air.
And ballistic missiles being shot down by Israel's anti-weaponry. This is directly over the Dome of the Rock. That's the Temple Mount, the holiest site in Judaism, the third holiest site in Islam. Again, this is directly over Israel's capital city in Jerusalem. So dramatic footage in Ashkelon.
Yeah, definitely. Iran was trying to fucking target the Al-Aqsa Mosque, Ben. Thank you. Well, knowing how much of a defender of Islam you are and how much of a defender of Islam the Israeli state is, I, of course, being the dumbest person on the planet, definitely believe what you're saying. I am now convinced The caliphate will start in Israel. I was wrong. Many people have called me a neo-Ottomanist caliphate defender and a supporter of Erdogan for that reason. Turns out Benjamin Netanyahu will wield, as someone said in the chat, the sword of Islam. That's right. Netanyahu is now the official defender of Islam.
Which is near the South Israel. Looks like a fireworks show. As Iranian drones are shot down over the state of Israel. Ashkelon is a major city in Israel's south on the coast. And this sort of footage is shocking. Israel's success rate here was even more shocking. So in what can only be described as a technological miracle. And if you're a religious person, obviously, when you see the miraculous in real life, you attribute that to the hand of God as well as to the hand of technology. But it
is so far removed from God. That literally is actually man overcoming God in every sense of the word. You just watched years and years of technological advancement, and it is truly a marvel, I have to admit, okay? It is ridiculous to say that this is the hand of God. It is not. It is the opposite of God. It is science. It's also our tax dollars at work in many respects, but that's besides the point.
It can only be described as miraculous that 99% of all ordnance emanating from Iran here was shot down by the Israelis and the UK and the United States. Here's Clarissa Ward of CNN explaining just how successful the defensive measures were put forward by the state of Israel as well as Jordanian forces. Jordan's revealed preference, by the way, is now for the state of Israel. Revealed preference is when you say that you're for a thing, but what you're actually for is another thing. Jordan has been proclaiming that it's very, very much pro-Hamas and the Palestinians.
No, they have. It's so funny. No, you only say that because you think that they're like too Arab adjacent. That they're just like Arab. So you're like, yeah, their preference is towards Hamas. Like, no, man. Yeah, I'm shocked to see that the British Empire placement in the Jordanian monarchy that has been personally fucking squashing pro-Palestinian protests by force for the past 6 months actually is supporting Israel here. Like, that's crazy. Wow, dude. I can't believe it.
And then when it comes down to it, they really, really don't like Iran at all. And so they're shooting down incoming ordnance.
You're wrong. They do posture as pro-Palestinian. Yes, everyone postures as pro-Palestinian because they have to respond to public sentiment because the Jordanian public is pro-Palestinian, just like the Saudi public is pro-Palestinian. So every administration in the region, in an effort to make it seem like they are in line with the interests of their citizens, will say that they're pro-Palestinian. Jordan will also obviously allow humanitarian aid to go through. Jordan will also do humanitarian aid drops, but so does America. Do you think America is pro-Palestinian by that very same metric? Or do you think America is pro-Israel? Of course, the leadership of these countries are in support of, they're in support of the big guy in the room, which is America, and also by way of America.
Over Jordan.
Ben Shapiro, by the way, did say Joe Biden is pro-Hamas. So, he is just an insane person.
The United States, the UK, even France got involved in shooting down much of this material in an attempt to avoid an escalatory war in the region. Here's Clarissa Ward explaining the success rate.
President Biden has urged Israel not to escalate further, but one Israeli official telling CNN that they will respond. It's simply a matter of the scale and scope of what that response will be. This after, as you mentioned, 300 cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, drones fired towards Israel last night, 99% of them intercepted. But tellingly, the IDF has said that a number, they won't give the specific number, of ballistic missiles did make impact at the Nevatim Air Force Base in southern Israel. That is where those F-35 fighter jets are based.
Okay, it did very minor damage at the Air Force Base in the south of Israel. Not enough.
It's so weird that those missiles hit this like remote Air Force base when Ben Shapiro and everyone else has been saying that Iran was just trying to simply hit like all of the population centers to kill as many Israelis as possible. I guess those missiles were trying to kill as many civilians as possible, but then ended up being redirected to the Air Force base or something. I don't know. It must have been a coincidence. There was one Bedouin girl that was hurt by shrapnel. Yes, there was a little girl hurt by shrapnel in the south. Unfortunately, as I'm sure you know, this Volodymyr Zelensky, that Bedouin areas, due to them being somewhat nomadic and also due to them not getting a lot of political cover from Israel, oftentimes live in areas where they don't get any Iron Dome defense coverage as well, or sometimes they end up even in Palestinian, even when like Hamas rockets are being launched into Israel, anytime there's casualties, most of those casualties do come still from the Bedouin villages.
Enough damage to actually stop that base from working. It did no damage to Israel's F-35 fleet. Again, this was not just an Israeli effort. The United States, Britain, Jordan, and France all helped to intercept the massive barrage of drones that Iran fired at Israel overnight on Saturday, according to the Times of Israel. The United States and Israel, of course, had been bracing for an attack for days after Iran said that it would retaliate for a suspected Israeli strike this month on what Tehran claims was a consular building in Syria, killing 12 people, including the 2 senior Iranian generals in the Revolutionary Guard's elite Quds force. According to the Pentagon, the United States forces intercepted dozens of missiles and drones launched from Iran, Iraq, Syria,
Ben
and
Shabibo
Yemen
argument.
that were headed toward Israel. Again, this is a testament to the technological superiority of Israel and its allies here. Israel has a wide variety of defensive measures that it took against these particular incoming missiles and drones. Most of it was actually shot down before it ever reached the state of Israel. Israel has what's called the Arrow 3, which intercepts ballistic missiles and handles longer range and higher altitude interceptions, including exo-atmospheric. In fact, there was some film that was pretty astonishing of Israel using what looks like essentially Reagan-esque Star Wars to shoot down a missile in the higher.
It is cool as fuck. That shit is definitely a technological marvel for sure.
Atmosphere. They have the Arrow 2, which is for endo and exo-atmospheric interception capabilities. They have David Sling, which is for surface-to-surface missiles. And then, of course, Iron Dome, which is for short-range rockets. Now, Iran, for its part, is saying that they are done, and they are threatening to hit American bases if Washington backs an Israeli counterattack. According to the Times of Israel, top Iranian commanders warned Israel on Sunday the country would face a bigger attack if it retaliates against overnight drone and missile strikes, adding that Washington has been told not to back any military action from its ally. Iran's Armed Forces Chief of Staff Major General Mohammad Bagheri told State TV, quote, "Our response will be much larger than tonight's military action if Israel retaliates against Iran." Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi said if the Zionist regime, that'd be Israel, or its supporters demonstrate reckless behavior, they'll receive a decisive and much stronger response. Now, Iran's been trying to play this off as a victory. On Iranian TV, they've been showing footage of fires from Chile, pretending that it's actually fires from Israel. They're propagandizing to their own population that this was not, in fact, a humiliating evening for the Iranian forces, which it was. When you fire off that much ordnance and nearly all of it gets shot down, and the only person who is severely wounded happens to be an Israeli Arab girl, 7-year-old girl, who may die because of the Iranian assault.
Yeah, 7-year-old Arab girl. Bro, don't act like you give a shit about 7-year-old Arab girls, okay? Like, you literally openly fucking advocate to melt them in Gaza. The actual smarter analysis here is to recognize that the living conditions of the Bedouin are not great in an apartheid regime that treats Palestinian citizens as second-class citizens, even those who it has given full-blown citizenship to. If we're both guessing, yeah, and we both are guessing, I am still closer to what I suspect is the truth. It is likely that especially Bedouins that don't have bomb shelters, especially Bedouins that don't get broad coverage through the Iron Dome, could possibly, as I know, as it has happened in the past, could possibly be harmed by any kind of missile strikes, more so than someone living in fucking Tel Aviv. Over 120,000 Bedouins live in unrecognized villages. They're not connected to the water pipeline nor infrastructure, and their houses are repeatedly destroyed. I remember a Gideon Levy article about a Bedouin village that was destroyed over 50 times, which is quite the record. In the Second Lebanon War, 19 of the 44 Israeli civilians killed were Arab citizens in the north who did not have bomb shelters and weren't evacuated. Anyway.
It turns out that that is a signal military failure. Clearly a signal military failure. So the question becomes here, what happened? In order to understand what's about to happen going forward, you have to understand how we got here. So the first thing to understand, obviously, is that Iran was in a catch-22. That catch-22 is a catch-22 of its own making. So Iran, the way this whole conflict started on October 7th, is that Iran was deeply afraid that Israel was about to sign a new Abraham Accord with the Saudi government. That was very close. Everyone was openly discussing this. And that would have solidified a Sunni-Israeli pact against Shia aggression in the Middle East. Iran then would have effectively been boxed in. And the only way you're ever going to get a Saudi-Israeli deal is if the Saudis believe that the Israelis are militarily powerful to rebut all attempts to destroy them and or do significant damage to their civilian base. What the Biden administration should have done in the aftermath of October 7th is given Israel the green light to do what it needed to do with Hamas and Hezbollah. No American troops involved. Continued funding to the Israeli military, which of course means buying from American sources. Move forward and demonstrate strength. Instead, the Biden administration over time began to put more and more shackles on the Israeli Defense Force in Israel's attempt to extirpate Hamas and also to counter Hezbollah. And Iran saw the gap. The reason that this latest attack happened is because Iran saw the gap. Israel took out the general who had greenlit the October 7th attacks.
The guy was actually, he was an October 7 general. Dude, it's crazy. Anyone that Israel targets, no matter where they're targeting it, is actually Hamas somehow. Yeah. Shit, dude, my bad. I didn't even think about that.